We're back. All right. We're back. Well, this is a very synthetic chart. And, it's possible to lay many more factors on this chart. The Tibetan never made a chart like this per se. My colleague Keith Bailey long ago put the different cities and psychic powers. He put the different cities and psychic powers on this, and it was very useful that way. It's also possible to lay the ray energies on this chart. You can figure out how that would be done, can't you? Obviously, 1 through 7 fits very well, does it not? So you could, on each one of those subplanes, you can lay a particular ray energy. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, or in the reverse. With 1st ray on the lowest subplane going up to 7th on the highest. Now, when we're talking about the principles in occultism, which is higher, a 1st principle or a 7th principle? What do you think? See, for instance, what is the so-called 6th principle? What is the name of it? The 6th principle is Buddhi. What is the 7th principle? What is the 5th principle? That we should know. Manas, right? Right. In other words, you begin. Remember, years ago we studied the principles. Okay. We had the prana, the etheric body, and prana were considered principles. Manas was considered a principle. Kama, a principle. The middle of the the Karana Sarira, the causal body, was considered a principle. Then there was higher manas, there was buddhi, and there was atma. So interestingly enough, with the principles, the higher the number, the higher the principle. But I have found it to work that you can lay rays 1 through 7 on any one of these subplanes, and you can lay ray 1 through 7 in reverse on any subplane. You can also do another thing. How many planes or subplanes does Brahma have? What is the number for the previous solar system compared with the number of this solar system? Well, okay, 3, of course, is a very important number and found everywhere. But technically, the number of Brahma is 5, isn't it? It's very interesting, even much of the music of the East is based upon a pentatonic scale, a 5-note scale, inherited from the past. And the modern musical system uses a 7-note scale. It's like the 2 different solar systems at work. So the number 5 comes from Brahma, and the number 7 from Vishnu. So you can lay the rays on the Brahmic part of this chart. Namely, you can start with subplane number 3, and you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The Tibetan actually does this. So to give you an example of how that works, what is usually considered to be the ray of Saturn? The ray of Saturn is 3. Okay, ray of Saturn is 3. But if you begin numbering with the 3rd subplane down, because in a way it goes like this: Uranus, Neptune, Saturn. So Saturn is the 3rd subplane down. It is the 3rd ray. But then if you can begin numbering there because Saturn is Brahma. So Saturn is also number 1. And subplane number 4 is number 2. Subplane number 5 is number 3. Subplane number 6 is number 4, according to the Brahmic system. Anyway, the reason I'm saying this is that in order to help determine the nature of the cities that are found on these different subplanes, the numbers help. In other words, the cities or the powers, they correlate with the numbers that are found there. You can also put planets there as well. Now, the highest planets are Uranus, Neptune, and Saturn, right? Because they are, what are their deep rays? Uranus, Neptune, and Saturn. The deep rays, esoteric rays, monadic rays. 1, 2, and 3. They're 1, 2, and 3. Go to Esoteric Psychology, Volume 1, page 420, and you will see that he gives you the monadic rays of these 3 planets. But you could also start numbering with Vulcan, couldn't you? You could start on every top subplane and say Vulcan belongs there, couldn't you? And interestingly, the law of vibration over which Vulcan presides, because Vulcan starts all vibration going, is found on the first subplane. See, let's name, if you want to look at things in terms of synthesis, you try to put as many laws and principles and rays and numbers on the chart together as you can. So what is the ray 1 planet conventionally speaking? The sacred planet of the first ray? Vulcan, right? Because Vulcan probably has a first ray soul, whereas Uranus has a first ray monad and a 7th ray soul. So we would put it like this. You know, any plane we choose will be fine. They tell me I have a loud microphone level. I wonder if that's the case. Okay. The best way to deal with that is to get rid of the sign telling you you have a loud microphone level. Okay. I'll take it down a little bit more. Okay. So you could put Vulcan ray 1, first subplane. What is the conventional planet for ray 2? The sacred planet for ray 2 is Jupiter. See, the synthesizing planet for ray 2 is Neptune, but the sacred planet is Jupiter ray 2. And then Saturn again. And then for ray 4, what do we have? What's the ray 4 soul planet? Mercury. Ray 5 soul? Venus. Ray 6 soul. And there we have Neptune. There we have Neptune. And ray 7 soul is Uranus. So you can lay all these planets on this graph as well. And when you get all this information together, it will tell you something about the states of consciousness you can achieve on these different levels. Of course, what all of us have to do, we have to make sure that in our own consciousness, we are actually having those experiences. That's what we need to do. Now, let's review the 7 laws of the solar system. They are also found in Cosmic Fire, correct? Law number 1 is 7 laws of the... Now, these are not the cosmic laws. The cosmic laws, the 3 cosmic laws are what? First cosmic law. Right, the law of synthesis. Second cosmic law. Now this you ought to know because it's in all the soap operas. Law of attraction, yes. Probably working out on a lower turn of the spiral. The third law is cosmic law of economy. Okay, now let's look at the systemic laws. First law is, don't look it up. First law is, this is a hint. Yes, very good. Law of vibration. So you would put the law of vibration on the first subplane. And as far as that goes, the entire logoic plane is the law of vibration. Okay, the whole upper plane where Shambhala is found, it's all the law of vibration. Okay, the second systemic law is, it's related to the law of attraction, but it's not. Law of cohesion. Law of cohesion. Okay, the third systemic law is disintegration. Okay, disintegration. And I think we've dealt with these matters. It's a Saturnian law, and it requires the dissolution of all aggregations. The fourth cosmic law is, and it relates to solar angels, law of magnetic control. That's Martha, someone's cheating. Someone's looking at the list. You're supposed to look at your memory for this. Okay, the fifth cosmic law is fixation. The sixth cosmic law is love, only in a different sense than the law of attraction, the law of love. Okay, the seventh cosmic law is, right, sacrifice and death, right? Law of sacrifice and death. Anyway, you can lay all of these laws on the subplanes. So the more information you put on the subplanes, the more you will know about the powers that are available to you. You can lay the colors on the subplanes, right? Beginning with red and ending with violet at the bottom, right? So if we were to go through the colors in order, and not according to the spectrum, but in order of the rays, what would you have? Red, next. Second, blue, next. Green, next. Yellow, next. Orange, next. Whoops. There would be, well, yes, there would be the rose color or the light blue. There are so many different kinds of blues, but indigo, they're all ray 2, the blue, ray 2 or 6, and end with violet. Okay, if we were to lay the notes on these subplanes, and that's very important, okay, to put the notes there, because the notes activate the Deva cooperators on each one of the subplanes, right? So the note would be, let's just say, well, there's different ways to do it. But the note on the very top would be a D. It's a Vulcanian note. It's a sun note, the D. Then you go to the second subplane. It's a second ray note. What is it? Second ray note? It's a G, G, G. It's a G. Okay? Then you go to the third ray note. What is it? It's the note Fa. It's a green note. Therefore, it's an F, right? Here comes the bride. Yes, it's a Fa. Okay. Okay. Okay, that's the F. And we go now to the fourth ray note, which is the yellow note. What is it? It's the most important thing in the world. Me. Do, re, mi. It's a me. Okay, it's a me. Then we go to the fifth ray note. What is this fifth ray note? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. It's a la. It's an A. It's an A. It's an indigo note, an A. And all the orchestras tune up to the fifth ray note. Isn't that interesting? They try to get on the right frequency by tuning to the fifth ray note. Okay? Then you go to the sixth ray note, which is the sixth subplane, and it's a red note. In this case, it's a Mars note. What is it? It's a C. It's a C. And finally, we go to the moon note, which is number 7, and the moon is veiling what planet? In this case, violet. The moon, Uranus. The violet moon veils violet Uranus. It's the 7th ray note, and what note is that? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. It's a B. It's a B. Okay, so you have it? So you lay all this information on the map, and as the information begins to accumulate, you can work the matter and the consciousness of that particular subplane. Of course, it kind of helps to know where we are at the moment. Where do you think we are functioning most of the time, mentally? Are we actually, do you think, functioning mostly mentally on the 4th subplane? We should be. Are we? Maybe not, huh? Where do you think Kama Manas is found on this mental plane? Kama and Manas, what do you think? The whole plane is the plane of Manas. So where's the Kama part of it? Kama is what? Desire. Right, desire mind. So where do you think Kama Manas is? Well, don't you think it's here? The 6th subplane of the mental plane, Kama Manas. Don't you think so? And where do you think average, analytical, clear mind is found on the mental plane? Wouldn't you say here? The 5 of 5, wouldn't you say? That's where European mind is found. Aryan mind. The 5 of 5, wouldn't you say? So then, what is it about the 4th subplane that makes it special, where we should be focusing? What can Ray 4 add to this situation? Harmony, yes, yes. A bridge, yes, a bridge, bridging, yes. And basically, is Ray 4 a ray of synthesis, bridging, harmonizing, relating, seeing things whole? Okay, that's what it adds. It is an ability not to just see things in pieces, not just to study things in isolation, but to study things in relation to each other and not necessarily affected by emotion. See, in other words, we are cured of emotional thinking on the 5th subplane of the mental plane. What is emotional thinking? What is Kama Manas, really? It's sometimes even considered a principle, although it's a false principle, really. But Kama Manas, Annie Besant describes it in a certain way, and I can somewhat paraphrase that. It is the fact that Manas is never engaged, but Kama accompanies it. So every thought has an emotional or feeling tone to it. It's not pure thought. It always is accompanied by feeling. So Carl Jung called this feeling-toned thoughts, and it's where most people think. It's got a lot of the 6th subplane in it. What is that? You know, in other words, we always feel one way or another about something that we're thinking. We cannot examine it impartially, without bias. We always feel for or against what we're thinking. Emotions are always engaged when we're thinking. It's not pure, clear thought. Anyway, my point is, I think, that the fourth subplane is a high subplane for mentality. It actually is a synthetic type of mind which utilizes the fourth ray and equilibrizes and harmonizes what goes on in the mind. DK said of his work that the fourth ray mind was very important for his work, and the majority of the students in his group had fourth ray minds. Okay, why do I begin with all this? Because we're trying to think in terms of pure reason. Pure reason is a type of thinking in which the relationship between all factors is clearly seen. It's an intuitive type of thinking which shows proper connections between all factors. It involves the fourth ray, it involves the second ray. It's a very mercurial, Jupiterian way of thinking. So we're reaching that point in our studies where we should be able to put together the different kinds of ideas we have been studying and see the relationship between them. Now, DK actually did this. You know, I wonder if I can find what I'm looking for. It's in Esoteric Psychology 2, and maybe I can find it. Here. Look at this. It requires much spiritual insight, however, to enable the average disciple to see the correspondence or the trend of ideas which link, now he's talking the language of Mercury, isn't he? Which link, 1, the Beatitudes enunciated by the Christ and the 7 laws of the soul, the stages of the Noble Eightfold Path and these soul law potencies, the 8 means to yoga or union of the soul, and this septennate of laws, the 10 commandments of the Semitic religion, and these 7 spiritual laws. Do you see how he's trying to get us to think? He's trying to say, okay, you've studied this, you've studied that. Now, can you study these different groups of laws together? And here he gives it to us. You know, the 5 commandments from yoga is a second ray approach. The rules for yoga is self-training, is fourth ray approach. Posture or asana is the 6th ray approach. Pranayama is the 7th ray approach. Abstraction is the 1st ray approach. Attention or dharana is the 3rd ray approach. Meditation is the 5th ray force, and ultimately you get contemplation. He's just gone through all the means of yoga, and he's shown you their ray and the connection between the different soul laws. Okay, so don't despair yet. The afternoon is coming. You can despair in the afternoon. Okay, so he's basically saying, if you study this, and you study that, and you study that, don't just be satisfied with the 5th ray approach, where you study all these things separately, but use the 4th ray, 4th subplane to link them all together via the 4th ray of Mercury. And when we start linking things, the light shines forth. I heard of a scientist who dumped, let's see, I'll kind of invent this a little bit, but let's just say hundreds of sheets of paper on which were written facts in one bin. Then he dumped the same ones in the other bin. He mixed them all up, and pulled out two at a time and tried to see the connection between these different facts. And every once in a while, light arced between them. Thus it could be if we learn how to use mercury. See, we can find the relationship of anything to anything else if we can think with mercury and pure reason. That's what's behind this strange beginning to this session. Okay. Now, is there anybody here that would like to learn to think synthetically? How do you feel about that? Is that reasonable? Reasonable? I know that it's not the first step. The first step is to use the fifth ray. Focus on one thing. Learn all about it. So in itself, it is perfectly clear in its relations to itself. The next thing is to connect two things on which you have already used the fifth ray. Connect them and let their relations shine forth. This is what happens on the fourth subplane of the mental plane. When it is responding to what? Here. To what will the fourth subplane of the mental plane respond when that kind of linking is possible? What up here will it respond to? 4 is 4. Right there. Correct? In other words, there'll be a line of connection between perfection, intuition, and discrimination. 4, 4, 4. This is why DK said the fourth ray was so important to him, because it's linking things within the field of knowledge to each other. Okay. Are there any questions or complaints about this? Okay. I'm sorry, I just have to take time off to cough every couple of minutes. You know, it's just one of those. I trust that if this is ever edited, the editor will take care of the coughs. Oh, my. I think that why do we get sick? Since we're in a cancer clinic, I think this is a good question to ask, you know. Oh, Ella's gonna tell. To sleep, is that part of it? Fresh air, sleep, proper exercise, all that. Oh, are you sure? Or is it in the healing book? Oh, okay. Okay, well, when you find out why we get sick, you let me know. But I want to blame it. Page 6 something? Okay. What page? All right, hold. Begging. He's begging us. Okay. All right. Well, you know, I was taking this. Thank you for that. I was taking this from a somewhat different perspective. I was going to blame it on the imperfect gods, you know. It's because our planetary logos is still non-sacred. That's why we get sick, you know. But, okay, I do admit that there is something here about keeping the physical body in good condition. Sufficient sleep, right food, which must vary for each individual. Yes. All right. And what? He says, I beg you. Okay, okay. I get the point. Okay, okay. Okay. Good. All right. Now we'll leave this chart, although it admits of a tremendous amplification. But you get the idea. What's the idea? Put the information of which you are aware together. Put it together. Don't allow your mind to become compartmentalized so you know something over here which is unrelated to what's over here, unrelated to what's over here. Take the effort to use the fourth ray and the second ray to make the links between things, and then the light will break forth. Of course, it is a discipline to do this, isn't it? Because sometimes you don't see the connection, and you have to ponder on it until the light breaks forth. Okay. All right, let us begin with I chose some things out of the last part of um, a treatise on cosmic fire. Obviously, we still have another, I don't know, there's maybe hundreds of pages we have not studied in the group. And, you know, we could keep going for the rest of our lives. But I chose this section on motion in the causal body. You have reviewed this in class, Anne? Has this been done, or you said you started the book all over again? Was that, you've done the whole book? Okay. I love that word done. Don't you love the word done? We have you're ahead of, yeah, I've been left in the dust. You've done it and I'm still doing it. Okay. That's the amazing thing. Read the Tibetan once, read them again. It's did I read this? Excuse me. All right. What color are you in this group? What color are your brackets? Do you remember? Are we orange here? Or do I have to look that up? You're orange. Color codes? I think you are orange. Oh, Humlagoran is orange. It's not a very pretty orange. Sorry. All right, let's put orange down. Okay. Remember orange? Okay. Okay. Orange. There you are. All right, let's read together and try to remember everything we know about the causal body. That is, without having seen it. But fortunately, we can see it through Master DK's eyes, which is quite a revelation. I mean, when you look at your fellow human being, do you see a biped with two arms and a head? Or do you see a flower floating on the higher mental plane? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, I know it sounds stupid, but we look at each other and we see ourselves through a kind of a personal lens, if you will. And that lens is very misleading. What if we used our imagination to instead visualize the play of colors and qualities that are actually behind the apparent personality? Do you ever do this as kind of an exercise where you just kind of look at a person and see which particular faculty would I be using if I did that? We discussed this today in meditation. You do. You see people in colors. Yes, okay, both. You see people in colors in both ways. I'm saying, do we visualize the egoic lotus when we see people? Everyone's got one, you know. Although I imagine that if we could see the egoic lotus for everyone we encountered, the the difference in appearance would be extraordinary. I mean, you would really know who you were dealing with, wouldn't you? Because at first you might not know. But if you could see what's unfolded and what is pulsating and what is scintillating and what has still far to go, you could learn much, don't you think? Anyway, let's hold that in mind. I think if you leave your imagination open, you never know, something might appear. Yes. Oh, me. Yes, you would know the need. And if you knew the need, you would know one of the greatest of the psychic powers, wouldn't you? What does he say? One of the major psychic powers. To sense, to sense the need, to know the true need of another individual. One of the major psychic powers. Interesting, no? Okay. All right, let's get going. Motion in the causal body. This is going to take us a little while. We have studied somewhat this activity as it manifests in fourfold fashion in the mental sheath. And the reason that there has not been much to say anent this matter has been that the mental sheath comes under the laws of the matter aspect and is subject to the same rules as are the material vehicles of all existence. Would you say that the entire mental sheath comes under the laws of the matter aspect, or only part of it? Part of it. Is the causal body, however, matter? Is the causal body matter? Okay, the point of view is important, but what I would like to say is that all of this, all of it, is matter. Every bit of this whole map is matter. But it's just a question of higher and lower matter, okay? And usually when DK talks about matter, he means the lower 18 subplanes, but he can also mean the lower 21 subplanes. And when he talks about the higher levels, he usually uses a different word. What is that word? He doesn't use the word matter. Not so much. What does he use? What matter and very good. Substance. Matter and substance. However, sometimes when using the word substance, he even goes very low on the scale. Like, for instance, the etheric nature of the human being. Is that matter or substance or both? It is substantial to outer matter, isn't it? So the word substance always has to do with the relation of two things, one of which is subtle and the other of which is more gross. For instance, the astral plane is substantial to the etheric. The mental is substantial to the astral. The higher mental to the lower mental, and so forth. On the entire cosmic physical plane, this is the substantial subplane, the logoic plane. But if you want to look at it deeper, then we go to the cosmic astral plane, which is substantial. That's a big question, though, isn't it? Is there matter on the cosmic astral plane? Is there matter on the cosmic mental plane? Well, you know, ultimately, those are physical planes, if we see it from a high enough point of view. So I would have to say yes, but the constitution of such matter we do not know. Okay. Anyway, moving on. It is only matter of a finer grade. Mental vehicles, matter of a finer grade. Therefore, it comes under the laws of matter. It is atomic, and everything DK has said about the qualities of matter in this book, Cosmic Fire, pertain to the matter of the mental plane as well as to the gross physical. The student, therefore, can apply what has been earlier said anent the astral and physical bodies to the mental body, and thus negate the necessity of our entering upon the subject in greater detail. So what is he saying here? Really, I expect you to do the research yourself. Okay? An unreasonable demand, wouldn't you say? You know, in the new schools, it's going to be filled with that kind of thing. You know, do you remember in esoteric astrology where he tells you about the esoteric nature of the first two houses of the horoscope? Do you remember that? I'll see if I can find it quickly. Okay, so somewhere around here. 510. I don't think this is it. It might be 517. But let's just see. Aha, no, there it is. Look what he gives you. He's given you a method of moving from a normal interpretation to a higher interpretation. And that's all he gives you, the first two houses. What does he expect? Obviously, he gives you a couple of things. You work out the next 10. Is that an occult method? Or should he give us every little thing? What do you think? Would you like to be given every little thing? Come on, admit it. No, if he gave you every little thing, then what would happen to your intuition? What would happen to your power of reasoning, to your power of linking? You know, I remember Master Moria saying that to give all is to put on chains. Interesting. If you give everything to somebody, they don't exercise their own faculties and develop them. So that's what DK does. He drops a little bit here, a little bit there, and for the interested student, you work out the rest. Okay. And we have, in our astrology classes, we have worked out these other 10, according to the principle that's given. Okay. Sorry. It's definitely better to teach when you're not sick than it is to teach when you're sick. Okay. I expect you to research yourself. Okay. The causal body differs from the Brahma aspect in that it is a fuller embodiment of the life of the second aspect. Its predominant characteristics are those of the second aspect. Well, look, is the causal body in the vehicle of Brahma or the vehicle of Vishnu? Okay, here, let's start it this way. Which, on this map, which of these subplanes are located within the dense physical body of the solar logos? Because he has a dense physical body too. Which ones are located in the dense physical body of the solar logos? We start by saying it's got to be the lower subplanes, of course. Where is the dense physical body of the solar logos on this map? Is it these 18 lower subplanes, or is it these 21 lower subplanes? Okay. So, the causal body is actually located in the dense physical body of the solar logos. But then there comes a question. Is it located in the dense physical body of the planetary logos? And maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe Only the 18 lower subplanes are the dense physical body of the planetary logos, whereas the 21 are the dense physical body of the solar logos. So really, even when we achieve causal consciousness, we're still in the dense body of the solar God. And that's why Christ said, sell all you have, give the money to the poor, and follow me. What was he saying in terms of these planes? What was he saying? If you follow him, where do you go? On these planes. Up, up. So, in other words, up. Yeah, apparently up, yes, up. You don't stay on the higher mental plane if you follow him, do you? I would love to have some water. Is that possible? Thank you very much. In other words, follow me would take you to the Buddhic plane, because you would go through the crucifixion if you follow him, and the crucifixion takes you off the higher mental plane and puts you onto the Buddhic plane. So I think that's very interesting that those biblical statements have a definite occult interpretation in terms of our maps. All right? All right. Now, so then this is my question. Is the causal body in the Brahma aspect? What is that there? It's a lozenge. Oh, thank you. All right. So, okay, take a look at this map. See, look, I'll tell you what, I know I'm giving you a little bit of the fifth ray approach here, but we have to be sure of our facts if we're going to be able to do anything with them. Okay, where is Brahma on this map? What is the number of Brahma? 5. Therefore, where is Brahma on this map? All this is Brahma, isn't it? All this. This is all Brahma. But that is from the highest perspective. From another perspective, thank you, Martha. Thank you very much. Oh, you take my Buddha away. I know it's not my Buddha. I want my Buddha. It's not my, he's there. Well, he's too far away. Now the quality of what I'm going to say is going down now. The Buddha is no longer influential. Okay. Brahma is 3, but the third aspect manifests in a 7-plane system as 5. Brahma is the third aspect whose number is 5. Vishnu is the second aspect whose number is 7. Shiva is the first aspect whose number is 9. 9. In other words, our whole solar system is a Vishnu solar system, is built on the number what? 7. The last solar system was a Brahma solar system built on the number 5. The next solar system, 9, a Shiva solar system. Okay. So, from the lower perspective, within the realm of Brahma, from the higher mental plane on up, is the Vishnu part of Brahma. In other words, by the time you reach the causal body, the second aspect of divinity is manifesting strongly. On the lower 18 subplanes, it does not. Now, those of you who know your tarot, what is the 18th card? The moon. Therefore, the lower 18 subplanes are lunar and elemental. And by the time we reach number 19, what's the 19th card? The sun. We've entered the realm of the sun in the higher mental plane. Okay. Now remember that because I can ask you about it later. Don't you love quizzes? I think in this occult business, what do you say? Oh, you can answer yes, I know, but I always say if you know the answer, be quiet. I think I think it's much better for those who don't know the answer to speak up. I think so. Okay. The causal body differs from the Brahma aspect, from the lower 18 subplanes, in that it is a fuller embodiment. Notice he didn't say completely full. A fuller embodiment of the life of the second aspect. Its predominant characteristics are those of the second aspect. And I would say also, including the fifth ray. On the fifth plane, if you were going to look at the rays of the solar angels, particularly, what two rays do you think they would be? They are active on the fifth plane, and they are hearts of fiery love. What two aspects would that be? What two rays would the solar angels have primarily? 2 and 5. Oh, 4. Well, 4, the solar angels do respond to the fourth law of magnetic control. They do. Okay. Including. Okay. Now just hang in there. To study the nature of motion in the causal vehicle involves much clarity of thought. Uh-oh. And due appreciation of the nature of that body, about which DK has given us much information, fortunately. You've studied the causal body with DK, haven't you, to a degree? What do you think you've gotten out of that? What has your study of the causal body given to you? Oh, what did you say? Anything? See, what difference does it make to you in how you live your life? Okay, aspiration. Aspiration, perspiration, aspiration, aspiration. Yeah. And so you aspire to an unfoldment of this vehicle on the higher mental plane. Anything else? Anything else? That's very important. It's the structure of unfoldment. It's the structure of the unfoldment of consciousness. So that when I want to know what's missing in my life, I could go to that structure of the causal body. I could look at a certain petal, how many colors there are in that petal, the particular qualities that are meant to be unfolded in that petal, and I could say, okay, I have to work on this. Every one of us has something we have to work on, absolutely. And the question is, should we do it by guess and by gosh, or should we do it in a more scientific manner? Like, for instance, do you have the sense of what petal you are working on now? Normally, you would be working on several together, right? But what is your cutting edge? What is your next step? What are you actually trying to accomplish specifically? The model of the causal body really presents that. I'm working on, maybe someone remind me, I usually try to give you certain handouts by the end of it, but I've got at least, well, I'm working on a book, okay. It's on the causal body, but I did do the petal number 1, 2, and 3 from the astrological perspective, so I could give that to you if you want it. But someone better write it down or I will forget. I will forget. Okay. Now, it should be remembered that in considering the causal body, We are dealing specifically with the vehicle of manifestation of a solar angel who is its informing life and who is in process of constructing it, of perfecting it, and of enlarging it, and thus reflecting on a tiny scale the work of the Logos on his own plane and with regard to, his solar system. Okay. So the causal body is not the solar angel, correct? The causal body is the vehicle of manifestation of the solar angel, and not of the entire solar angel either. The solar angel has its own affairs to deal with on planes higher than the higher mental plane. As a matter of fact, in a way, the causal body is the lowest vehicle of manifestation of the solar angel. How many solar angels can dance on the head of a pin? You know, that was a serious question in the old days, you know. It had to do with the non-extended nature of being. So perhaps an infinite number of solar angels could dance on the head of a pin. Anyway, it became an example of fatuous thinking. But it's a serious consideration. Because do beings have extension, or are they dimensionless? Do beings have dimension, or is it only their expression which apparently has dimension? All right, that's a question. So anyway, how many solar angels do you have? One or many? Well, I think the answer to that is both one and many. Because there are different solar angels assigned to different levels of the causal body, but they are all emanations of the one solar angel, which is the greatest supervisor of the causal body. So it's really interesting when you get into Cosmic Fire. He deals with solar angels for each petal, solar angels for each tier of petals, and the greater solar angel for the entire manifestation. Okay, so the solar angel underlies the causal body. What is the true plane of the solar angel? I wonder if we know that. It is minimally what? Minimally Buddhic. Minimally Buddhic. Here, let's go here to page 35. And here we see that the solar angels, Agnishvatas, are on the Buddhic level. But it may be higher than that, in fact. Why do I say that? Solar angels came from the previous solar system. How did they manifest in the previous solar system? What was the form of the solar angel in a previous solar system? They are returning nirvanis from a previous solar system. What form did they take? They were human in the previous solar system. And they were initiates of all degrees. So the question is, how high did they climb in the previous solar system? This has always been something that has puzzled me. I've wondered whether the Buddhic plane as their focus was sufficiently high. I've wondered that. Now, what are you planning to do when this solar system is over? Have you thought about that? Are you planning to go to Sirius, or just because the bulk of humanity goes there, is it a little bit boring prospect? You don't want to be one of those? Or, you know, there are these 9 paths that it is possible for you as a monad to take. Okay. So the bulk of humanity will go Okay, well, you've got the path of Earth's surface. That's number one. The path of magnetic work, where you go to the cosmic astral plane and you manipulate the systemic astral plane. The path of the planetary logoi is the third. You and your fellow solar angels become a planetary logos. The path to Sirius is the fourth. What's the fifth path? I know we haven't studied it, but it's there in the book. Okay. It is the ray path. What famous individual is presently on the ray path that you might not expect that he would be? The Christ is on the ray path. But even though he's on the ray path, it says that Sirius will eventually claim him, no matter what particular path he may be on at the moment. The Buddha was meant to go to Sirius, but ever since he made that particular decision about humanity, he won't go there anymore. Then the sixth path is the path of the what? It's a big one. It's the path on which our blank is found. Our what? Our logos path, the path on which our solar logos is found. And then the seventh path is the path of absolute sonship. And, says the Tibetan, 2 more paths have been added to it. And he doesn't specify. He does not specify. But for those of you who have studied the Pleiades recently, you will find they are divided into 7 and 2, making 9, which is rather interesting, considering these 7 and 2 paths. Okay. They're veiled. They're veiled. And all paths lead to the Pleiades. Every one of these cosmic paths goes to a particular constellation first, and then to the Pleiades. So it all ties in, doesn't it? Yes, one of them, and you know, the question is, which one was it? Was it Maya? You know, there is debate on which one is married to the human being, but the meaning, of course, is not a human being per se. It is a non-sacred planet, right? So one of the Pleiades was married to the Earth, a very low-level, you know, disgraceful marriage, really. You know how it goes. But anyway, and probably there's a lot of the third ray in that particular Pleiad that was married to our non-sacred planet. And therefore she hid her face in shame, veiled. The veils of the third ray. Interesting. See. All right. Anyway, when we actually start studying the text of Cosmic Fire, we discover that it isn't easy, don't we? Okay, each part of the causal body is actuated by a type of force emanating from one or other great center, and it might be of interest, if we considered the component parts of this temple of the soul being the solar angel, in this case, or the consciousness aspect of the monad. If we studied the type of animating activity and arrived at a knowledge of the forces playing upon it and through it, we will take them one by one, beginning with the outer roll of petals. This is a very interesting term, temple of the soul. What is the good of a temple? What is the use of a temple? Say again? Structure. And Yeah, a dedicated space for a particular type of activity. It's a it's a focus of aspiration, invocation. It is a dedicated space to align with a particular type of energy. So in the old days, what did they have? In Greece, let us say, temple to Athena, temple to Jupiter, temple to Neptune. You know, all of the different gods had their own temples, didn't they? Okay. Malkuth, temple at the bottom of the tree of life. Malkuth, and now that is the very 10th, the bottom Sephira. Sandalphon, the angel Sandalphon stands over the temple of Malkuth. Okay, so we do need these dedicated places of invocation. In a funny sort of way, over the last 10 years, when we use it, this little room has become a kind of a temple for the invocation of some very high thoughts and energies. It's kind of interesting, you know, when is a temple, when is not a temple? A room is just a room, but if you assemble the right people with the right motive in the right space, then they can reactivate whatever they've done over the many years. Okay, so the causal body is actuated by different types of forces, and if we look at this map, we will see many lines going into the causal body, won't we? You have looked at this closely before, have you not? Come on now. There. So there are many lines of force going into this temple of the soul. That's why when you do antikarana work, these 3 lines are all involved in enriching your soul. And they don't just come from the spiritual triad either, do they? There are 4 lines of activity coming from the spirit of the human being. One of them is direct, is the transplantation of the highest jewel on the monadic plane into the jewel in the lotus. And the other 3 are the enrichment, the energy itself of the spiritual triad. So from the monad to the triad to the causal body, those are the ways the energy flows. Now we could do specific invocations to bring these energies in if we had the antikarana really built and functioning. Okay. Okay, so we're going to study the type of animating activity arrived at a knowledge of the forces playing upon and through this causal body. That's what we're going to try to do. You know, it's very interesting about the causal body. He seems to study it intensively in 3 different sections of the book. One section is around page 535, 6, 7. Another is around page 822. And now here we are in the 1100s, and he's studying it again from still a different perspective. It's probably the most important study in a treatise on cosmic fire that we can possibly focus our attention on, because it's the study of the real human being, relatively real. It's not just the study of personality. Okay, so we go on. The first petals, the outer 3, are called the knowledge petals. We're aware of this. Now when it comes to this, perhaps we should just, okay, just do this, okay, Diagrams 2. Okay. And we will do this and open. Okay, and we will do this. Okay. All right. So we have a better picture of the causal body on hand. Although it does not really represent the original, obviously. It's something. Oh. Whoa. Amazing. You can make things really big. Okay. There we go. And the colors are correct as in terms of what he has given. All right. The knowledge petals. These are the petals which represent the lowest aspect. Now notice the word represent. The lowest aspect of the triad and are responsive to the lowest forms of egoic force. These petals are 3 in number and come under the influence of certain streams of activity. Now I think we have seen the streams of activity. The monastic permanent atom and the activity aspect of the monad, these are the ones that animate the knowledge petals. Okay. One stream of energy emanates from the lower triad of permanent atoms, particularly the physical permanent atom, via that one of the 3 petals called the knowledge petal. So it's the knowledge petal of the knowledge tier. So what he seems to be saying here is that one of the knowledge petals, the one that is specifically for knowledge, in other words, petal number 1, is animated from the physical permanent atom. Somehow it's fed in from the physical permanent atom. The stream of force engendered in the lower self circulates in a triple stream, the reflection of the lower self in the lower self of the threefold path to God around the atomic triangle at the base of the egoic lotus. So where is the atomic triangle? At the base of the egoic lotus, correct? Of what does the atomic triangle consist? What are the 3 members of the atomic triangle? Okay, pretty close, but the last one has to be watched. Right. Physical permanent atom, astral permanent atom, and mental unit. Those are the members of the atomic triangle. So this stream of force circulates 3 times, or circulates around the atomic triangle. So, and this will be the case with each one of these units in the atomic triangle. When of sufficient strength and purity, it affects the outer row of petals. This is very interesting. So, from the physical permanent atom, there is a stream of energy circulating around the atomic triangle, and when it is sufficiently strong and pure, what does it do? It affects the outer tier of petals in the egoic lotus. Everything is gradual. Everything proceeds step by step. So it's not just enough that it happen. It has to happen clearly and purely in a sufficient intensity. Okay. What ray are we using here? Which is maybe why everyone's going to sleep. Okay. We are using specifically the 5th ray to discuss the science of what is going on in the causal body. Is it a matter of interest? Does it require concentration? Yes, it does. Okay. Don't worry, break is coming soon. Okay. Okay. This begins to be felt during the 3rd period of man's evolution, when he is an average intelligent unit or atom. In other words, it's kind of Aryan period, and the knowledge petals and the stimulation from the circulation around the atomic triangle will be felt. What are the three numbers which characterize the three phases of evolution of the man? Symbolic numbers. You'll recognize this, right? Correct? These are the 777 incarnations, supposedly, of the man. The first period and longest and most primitive is 700 incarnations, not really, symbolically. Then comes the development, which is more astral or average man, 70, and then the 7 incarnations on the probationary path. 777. What's the number of our planet? If the number of Mars is 666, what's the number of our planet? That might be the number of Saturn. 333 might be the number of Saturn. 9999. I'm not sure what planet 999 is. Maybe the planet Nix. Our planet is number 777. Isn't that interesting? 777. What planet is 555? Yes, Venus. And I wonder about 44. I think 888, I think, is Mercury. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I don't know 999. I think Vulcan might be 444. Vulcan has a fourth ray monad, I believe. But it's not just according to the monadic ray. Anyway, he does give us 777 for the Earth, and he shows the number of incarnations. Why is 777 the number for the Earth? Yeah, but that's for the whole Earth in its entire process of 7 chains, 7 globes, 7 rounds. Something about the rounds and process on our planet equates with the number 7. That's all I can say. He doesn't tell us why. We can hypothesize why it should be 777. I think it's because of matter. You know, I think, okay, I've got a reason. What chakra is the Earth within the solar logos? Yeah. The Earth represents the throat center in an individual human being, but in the solar system, the Earth is the 7th chakra, or base of the spine. Or at least it will be. That's the function it's intended to play. So maybe it's by the chakric function that these numbers are, that fits perfectly. It absolutely fits. Listen, when I can speak again, excuse me, what chakra is Mars in the solar system? It's the sacral center. 666. Right? What chakra is Venus in the... See? It's the solar plexus of the solar logos on its way to becoming a heart. From this point of view, Jupiter would be 222 because it's the heart center within our solar logos. Well, also, the number 4 is strangely connected with Jupiter. When you look at the glyph of Jupiter, it looks like a 4 or a 2 plus a cross. And the cross is the symbol of the 4. So the planet Jupiter is called the college of quadruple force units. So the number 4 is very strongly. So even Jupiter could be 444. I don't know. Saturn seems to be 333. It's a throat center. Mercury is an Ajna center within the solar logos. 222? I'm not sure. Anyway, I think that finding the chakric place of the planet will tell us something about the number that should be applied to it. So anyway, I don't know. He talks about the third period of a man's evolution. Does he talk about that as if there are more, or as if that's it? If that's it, we're in it. We all should be within the third period because we are at least average intelligent units or atoms on their way up to a degree of fulfillment. It takes a long time to become intelligent. And frankly, once you become intelligent, the rest of the petals unfold so much faster than they did in the beginning. In the beginning, you could spend, to stimulate or unfold that first petal could take just millions of years. Millions of years. Let's just say it's the Lemurian petal. Lemuria began 21 million years ago. And everybody had a causal body of a kind. Sorry. When were early Atlantean days? He says, blank, blank years ago, early Atlantean days. Take a guess. Okay, the figure he gives is 12 million years ago. So from 21 million years ago to 12 million years ago, early Atlantean days, even though there's an overlap in the unfolding of the petals, that first petal could take 9 million years to unfold. And now, when did the Aryan race begin? For sure. It's relatively recent, isn't it? Is it not? Well, that's not a bad response, because it may have had its origin then. But the time usually given is 1 million years ago. But suppose it was 4 million years ago. From early Atlantean days until the Aryan race begins, 8 million years. What if it's up to 1 million years ago? 11 million years. Those first two petals are taking the lion's share of time to unfold. And after that, everything is very fast, relatively. How long will it take you to live 30 lives? 30 lives. It's a little hard to know because there are these internal cycles where you might be withheld. In other words, it might not be a total sequence, life after life after life. But let's just say that suppose your time in incarnation was, suppose a total appearance and disappearance was 200 years. Suppose. Could be longer. What's 200 years times 30? 6,000? What's 6,000 years compared to the 21 million years of human existence? 6,000 years for the last 3 petals to unfold. Nothing. So everything is very fast at the end. Does it seem unreasonable for me to say that maybe you have lived 99.9 years, 99.9% of your incarnations already? But that's probably the way the numbers work out. Something like most of the incarnational past is really past. Most of it. And the number of incarnations remaining, look, from the first initiation to mastership, it isn't necessarily 30 lives at all. It could be 10. In which case, we're in the last phases of development. Even though I'm sure on a bad day we don't feel very bright when we look in the mirror. I really feel that way today. Okay. Still, compared to the inestimably slow progress we have made over many years, we are really bright lights compared to what we have been. Walking around like huge tabernacles of clay, 100 feet tall, big body, little mind, Things have improved. Pretty soon we'll be like Yoda. He's short, but he can do much. Okay. All right. I know it's almost time for a break, but I still have 2 minutes. So the number of Earth is 777, and there are 3 phases or periods of a man's evolution. Okay. The strength of the knowledge petals, where does it come from? This energy, when it blends with the inherent life of the atomic lives which form the petals. Notice that. What are the petals made of? Simply the atomic lives of the higher mental plane. But what about the shape and configuration in the egoic lotus form? Why is that? It's because the solar angels have gotten into this matter, and they have created out of it a flower through their own form. They have underlay all of this atomic substance. That's why the flower exists. Okay. Produces eventually that intimate fusing of soul and body which makes man a living soul. So anyway, we are just reviewing. We're dealing with the knowledge petals. We are saying the knowledge petals are affected, firstly, by a stream of energy coming from the atomic triangle, which, when it reaches a certain degree of purity, affects those petals. Okay. And we're saying that there are 3 periods to human evolution, and in the phase of the intelligent unit or atom is the 3rd period. Maybe we would add 2 more periods, depending on how he saw it. Maybe we would add the aspirant and then the disciple initiate, something along that line. But in a way, they come in phase number 3. And in a way, studies of this nature, which are focusing on such amazing books as Cosmic Fire, are studies for people who have completed 99.9% of their evolutionary progress as a human being. Yes. What energies the solar angels bring from the monad? The solar angels make it possible for the monad to appear on the higher mental plane. They build a vehicle for the descending monad, which focuses itself as the central fire or jewel in the lotus. But The monad, although all monads are one, in a way, because monad means one, there's only one monad in the whole cosmos. But from the point of view of emanation, the monad of the solar angel is different from the monad of the human being. But the monad of the solar angel facilitates the expression of the human monad. Now, look, when you're a parent, what you try to do, you look at your child and you say, okay, I sense these potentials in my child. Now I will try to create the circumstances where it's possible for this child to unfold, develop, and express. Analogously, that's what the solar angel is doing. But the energies of the solar angel are going into creating the qualitative vehicle on the higher mental plane which will allow a man to become a true individual. Basically, man had lost time on the moon chain and had not made the bridge to his higher triad. The solar angels became that bridge and supplied the means of connecting the highest and lowest aspects of the human being. When the bridge is no longer necessary, because man has built the bridge, the solar angel returns and has other things to do. So basically the solar angel is a huge second ray, fourth ray, loyal, stationed bridge to connect the monad of man with his lowest expression. The solar angel, well, that's actually, the word messenger is what the word angel means. And the solar angel is certainly a messenger of the will of the planetary logos. We are told the solar, it's not just the solar angels only appear on Earth. They are other places, but here on Earth they have a harder job. They appear on a planet when a certain thing is about to happen. What is that thing? What's about to happen when solar angels appear and become active on a planet? The beginning of a round? Okay, well, it depends on which round. because it is only when the second aspect of divinity is about to awaken on a planet, namely the awakening of the planetary heart. That's when solar angels show up. That's when they do their thing. And that gives us a hint about what our planetary logos is passing through. That the solar angels would have come in this fourth round, fourth chain, etc., 21 million years ago, coincident with an initiation and with the awakening of the planetary heart center, of which man can be increasingly a part. Okay. All right, everybody, that's it. We will take a little break of 15 minutes or so. Now, don't all leave at once. Yes, you can go. Yes, you can go. It's okay. Okay, webinarians, however many you are in different places. Yeah, just hang in there. Who we got? Andrew? Anu? Brett? Carol? Elena? Gary? Another Gary? Gary Fun? Gary Smith? Irmeli? Johanna? Mark? Nicole? Risto? Hi, Risto. Ron? Welcome. And we will continue with our study of motion within the causal body. So just don't disconnect, and we'll be back in 15, 20 minutes.